Hey guys, I'm live. It's me again. It's 1 in the afternoon. It's no big deal. It's crazy times. You only have to deal with me being late one more time. Monday morning. It's probably gonna be late. Anyway, okay, so crazy. The readings for today. So I would just start by saying sometimes God says crazy things. He says insane things. Okay. The readings today. First of all, I did want to point out as a total side note, the reading from Genesis 17, when Abram prostrated himself, God spoke to him. Just a total, it's not that you could form an entire doctrine off of this, but God spoke to him when he prostrated himself. And as much as I would like God to speak to me in the busyness of life, which he can, sometimes he can yell through the chaos. You could probably hear it. There are 4 children in the other room. And sometimes he cuts through that and you have this moment of clarity, even in the midst of crazy confusion and chaos. But for the most part, we have to take time, and like in Lent, we are supposed to take time and prostrate ourselves before him, even just our hearts and our minds, and then he speaks. But the crazy thing is, and that's a side note, so that's just a principle of life, just prostrate yourself before him. But then, oh man, he says crazy things. So he's talking to Abram here. And Abram is an elderly man with no children. And God, when he prostrates himself before God, then God says, I'm going to make, the stars of the sea, the stars of the sea, the stars in the sky, the sands on the shore, that'll be your offspring. And this is where we get like the name change from Abram to Abraham, because his name meant father of many, you could probably say, which was kind of an insult to his whole life, because every time he heard his name, it meant something that he wasn't, because he had no children. And then God says, not only that, I'm going to change your name to Abraham, which ends up meaning father of multitudes. And that's craziness. That's God talking all crazy. God, what are you doing? You're talking crazy, man. And God's like, yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. And so then he births a people. And then we end up getting Christ from that. And so he was right. But in the moment, it was craziness. And God's not afraid to speak it. And then you jump to the New Testament. You jump to Jesus in the gospel reading. And he's there basically amidst these religious leaders. He says, whoever keeps my word will never see death. So the Jews say to him, what? Now we know you're possessed by the devil, because Abraham, our father Abraham, died, and you say that you're better than him, basically. And Jesus answers kind of not cryptically, but in just saying like, I'm not just glorifying myself. God, like the Father is glorifying me. He's making these claims, and it kind of ramps up, and it's a little mysterious. And then he just blatantly uses the name of God for himself. He says, I am. And if you look in the readings, it's in capital. That is the name of God. That was his name, like, from the burning bush. Moses, who should I tell them is sending me? Tell them I am that I am. Like, I exist. We've talked about that. So then Jesus now is using that for himself. This is black and white. This is Jesus saying, let there be no doubt about this. I am God. The Father is my Father. I come from heaven. I come to earth. Like, that's bold. And here in Lent, we're ramping up. We're getting close to Holy Week. And this might be one of the biggest challenges and most challenging reading that I've had to cover in these daily Lenten things, because it is one thing to want to live a holy life and hope that that's a good example. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna live this relationship with God, and then for those around me, they'll just see it, and then they'll convert just because of the way I live. And it'd be nice if that were true. And there's the old, like, preach the gospel if necessary, use words, and that's kind of true. But there comes a point in everybody's life where you have to use words, and you have to use the words of God, and God says crazy things. And the challenge for me right now, even facing going down the mission field to an unchristian culture, but that's what you live in too. You live in an unchristian culture right now. And so your challenge is the same as ours, with us on mission, is to go into the world today and not just live the example, but speak the words in that moment when those around you are, when you see people in doubt and in pain and in loneliness and in addiction and in brokenness. to truly, like, even though it's scary, or it can be, to walk up to them and just say, listen, Jesus can heal your heart. Jesus was the Son of God. He was God made man, and he can heal you. Did you know Jesus can set you free from addiction? You know, Jesus can set you free from the crutches that you live on in life. Jesus can heal your heart. He can show you what real life looks like. Did you know that? And, you know, we as a church, we claim not only that Christianity is the right religion, but that the Catholic Church possesses the fullness of the truth. That's a bold claim. And one of the reasons it's tough for people to believe is because we don't often like live that out, at least to their eyes. But be that as it may, that's part of the beauty of it is we have the sacraments of forgiveness and reconciliation, and we can be made whole, even in our idiocy, even in our mistakes, even in our sin. But there comes a point for all of us where we have to stop talking like a human and start talking like God, and stop using just our earthly terminology, because the earthly answers are what get people into their messes. Trying to do it on their own is what gets us into these messes. But what we can do is we can, with the words of God, we can step into dark situations, broken situations, situations that would need a transcendent, like omnipotent God to heal and remedy the situation, to heal that marriage and turn it around, to change a fractured mind that has been bound by lust, to break addiction. God really does those things. He heals the physical body. He heals the soul. We have sacraments of healing. You have sacrament of confession, which heals your soul, and the anointing of the sick, which heals your body. God is in the healing business. We have to speak those words confidently. And I wish I could remember who the speaker was, but he was on a plane and he was talking to somebody the whole time just about doubts in God. I think he was talking to a woman. And then he said, listen, if God were to heal you, or she had mentioned some illness, if God were to heal you, would you believe in him? And the person was like, yeah. So they got off the plane, went to just walked off to the side, and he prayed that that person would be healed. And they experienced healing in that moment, because this guy knew God well enough to just say, nah, he'll do it. And again, like, I know that's daunting. It's daunting for me to even say, but that's what we need to. We're running up to Holy Week here. And this is where the challenge, it's where the smack gets laid down. This is where the gauntlet is thrown down. This is where we actually live it. We've been in preparation. And so now it's the challenge. Speak the crazy words of God today. Speak them. Step out in that faith and say those words of hope to the world around you. And I'm going to try to do the same. All right. I'll see you on Monday, and I'll most likely be late. Have a great weekend.